Okay, sharpening. It's a worthwhile skill to have. It's simple, it's easy, and by the end of this, you're gonna know how to do it. Now, a subsequent video, I will go over stones more in depth. We'll talk about stones and jigs and strops and all that kind of stuff. But for the sake of being able to be more concise with what I'm showing you, we're going to cover the sharpening part right now. So let's dig in. Oh, one last thing. If you really truly want to learn today, you want to be sharpening today, watch this once through so you got the gist of it, and then get your sharpening stuff together, play it again, follow along, and practice what you're learning. 20 minutes of practice is gonna trump 1,000 hours of videos. Just do it. All right, I'm gonna zoom you guys in so you can see what we're doing. When starting with a new chisel or something that's under bad condition, normally I would start with this extra coarse, that's 220, then this is 325, 600, 1200, and then the almighty 4,000 and 8,000 water stone. Now, all the grits, regardless of where you're starting, it's all the same. So, for the sake of this, now, I start with the back. Now, you only need to go about an inch up the back. All we're doing is keeping pressure right on the chisel itself to keep the blade flat. And then I work in a circular motion, just keeping this flat, and I move it around the stone. That way I'm not just wearing one part of the stone. This is only going to take about 15 to 30 seconds. Now we just look for even scratch patterns on the back. That looks pretty good. And now this is the part that's going to be a feel. All you're going to do is you're going to put the bevel, this is the bevel of the chisel right there. That's the edge. That's what you're getting sharp. We're going to put the bevel down and we're going to rock it. And you're going to feel when it's flat, when you go past it or when you go back. And if you're new to this, I highly recommend using something that's 3/4 of an inch or, you know, an inch or a wider chisel, because it's going to give you a bigger bevel in order to have a reference, and it's going to make this process much easier to get the feel, because that's what it is. Now, once I have my bevel nice and flat, I keep my pressure with my forefinger down, and then I just kind of lock my hand muscles in place, because you're not rubbing it. You're going to keep your hand steady, and you're just going to work some circles right on that bevel. You could check it if you feel that you're out. Just keep that pressure down and work circles. It'll help you keep your hand nice and steady. The feel you kind of develop over time. And all you need to do is every now and then you can stop and take a look and see if your scratches are going to be on your chisel edge on the bevel. The black that's forming on the stone is nothing more than very, very fine metal shavings that the stone is removing from the blade. And voila. Now 8,000 is my final grit, so there is one small difference for whatever your final grit is, whether that's 1,200, 4,000, 8,000, 10,000, whatever is going to be your final grit, I'll show you. But jump on the back, same thing. Run some circles. Just remember to keep it flat. Now if the chisel is newer and you're starting with coarser grits, you're checking for a scratch pattern back here. I'll show you on a, see, this is another chisel. You don't need the whole back completely flat. I just work on that edge right there. But you want to make it so that the scratch patterns are consistent. That looks good. Remember, rock the bevel a little bit. You can actually see when that blade makes contact. You'll feel the flat, and then we just move around in a circle. Keeping your hand steady. The feel will come. I find that my body moves more. I'm making the circle, but my arms and hands are very steady. Once you go through, like you're seeing here, it's just 15 to 30 seconds to get it back to a razor. Now, what we're going to do 3 to 4 times is we're going to find that bevel like we were doing our circles, but I'm going to raise it just a touch higher. And that's how we're going to create our micro bevel. I touched it back again just in case there's a little burr. Spin that around, even use on the stone. And that's good right there. See that? And it doesn't matter if it's thicker on one side and thinner on the other. It's not going to affect your cutting. So if your micro bevel is, 2 millimeters on one side and 1 millimeter on the other side, or it doesn't affect the way it cuts. having trouble finding hair. I shot this video multiple times and I'm starting to run out of hair on my arm, and that's sharp. And that's how easy it is. Well, it's good timing because I can hear my neighbors are having a party, so it's starting to get loud around here. This is quick and easy. The recap is simple. Work your back first. If you're starting with a new chisel, this is 200. It's as simple as, well, you want this wet. Normally I use Windex, but it's the same thing. You're just working the back, 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 and you just keep going, and that part takes longer in order to do that. And you'll see the scratch pattern developing. Now, you move up from grit, and that's just going to take the previous scratches out. A quick little hack for you is if you have a belt sander, whether it's stationary or hand, it's hand, just clamp it down, or in a vise. But if your chisel's real rough or new, you can start with it on the belt sander, like 80, 100 or something. 3 to 4 seconds, dip it in water. Don't overheat the blade. 3 to 4 seconds, dip it in water, dry it off. 3 to 4 seconds, dip it in water, dry it off. Just keep an eye on the back each time, check it. As soon as you start to have a consistent flat back, move on to your stones. And then just work up your grits, taking it out until you start to get that mirror back. It's not going to be fully sharp unless you have a mirror on one side and a mirror on the other side. That's the way it works. You have two edges coming together, front and back. So don't think that the back being all scratched up is going to work, because you're not going to be nowhere near as sharp. It's not going to cut as good. So just focus in on the bottom part of the back of the blade. You don't need to get the entire thing. So those are the little things to look out for. I'm going to cover stones in the next video, and sharpening systems and jigs, but learning how to freehand sharpen's key. Once you start to get the feel for it, it's easy to get the feel for anything. And doing things like spear points and some of the other odd ones, you're not even going to be putting them in a jig anyway. They're so much easier to just do by hand. It'd take longer to set the jig up than it will to knock it out by hand. So I'm Chris with Progressive Ideas in Wood, signing out, and I'll see you on the next one.